In a world where presidents wear suits and speak in polished diplomacy, one man walked into power wearing a soldier's uniform, not with a smile, but with a vow to fight not for glory, but for his people. His name, Ibrahim, and this is his story. He was born in a village most of the world will never find on a map. Pan-Africanism, a small, dusty place in western Burkina Faso, where life moved slow and dreams were often swallowed by poverty. The year was 1988. Two outsiders. It was just another African birth and just another African village. But history was taking notes. Ibrahim grew up under the shadow of inequality. He watched his people live under the sun's wrath and a system's neglect. Water was a luxury. Books were rare, an opportunity even rarer. Yet even as a child, there was something different about him. He asked questions others wouldn't. He challenged things others feared. In a classroom of silence, his voice stood out. Education became his sword. At the University of Ouagadougou, while others just studied geology, Ibrahim studied power, how it works, who controls it, and why it fails the people. He didn't just learn from books, he learned from struggle. And soon, he made a decision. He wouldn't be a geologist, he would be a soldier. In 2009, he joined the army not to follow orders, but to understand them, to get close to the roots of power. He trained hard, quietly rising through the ranks. While others chased medals, he watched. He listened. He learned. He served in Mali under the UN, fought terrorists in the north, and when the bullets stopped, he asked the hardest question. Why are we always fighting our own? In the mess of insurgency and international politics, saw it clearly. Burkina Faso wasn't just losing a war, it was losing its soul. The people were being robbed by terrorists, by foreign interests, and by their own leaders. The soil of Burkina Faso was rich, but the people were poor. Its gold glittered in global markets. But at home, hunger ruled. He knew change would never come from above. So, like Sankara, decades before, he made a choice. If the system was broken, he would break it. Chaos was boiling across Burkina Faso. Terrorists controlled more than half the country. Villages were abandoned. Roads were unsafe. Children couldn't go to school. President Roch was ousted by a coup, led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba. The people cheered. For a moment, they believed change had come. But months passed, nothing changed. Damiba talked reform but acted the same. The military grew frustrated. Supplies didn't arrive. Soldiers were dying without reason or leadership. And somewhere in the background, Captain Ibrahim, just 34 years old, began gathering those who still believed in the fight. Not for power, but for the people. On September 30th, 2022, the second coup began. It was swift, bloodless. Damiba resisted. He tried to flee. He claimed was too young, too inexperienced, too radical. But by nightfall, the nation knew. A new chapter had begun. Ibrahim was now president of Burkina Faso. At 34, he was the youngest president in the world. But youth was not his weakness. It was his fire. He didn't take office in a suit. He wore camouflage. He didn't speak from a podium. He stood in the dirt with his people. He promised not wealth, but revolution. He didn't want to sit in meetings with world leaders. He wanted to walk the streets of his country and ask children if they had eaten. And then he made a decision that shook the world. He expelled the French military from Burkina Faso. For decades, France had held tight to its former colonies. Burkina Faso's gold mines were run by French companies. Its decisions shaped by foreign policy, but saw it differently. How can we be free? He asked. If our enemies feed us. In a stunning move, he removed French troops. He suspended military cooperation. He called for African self. Western media called him a dictator. African youth called him a hero. And when he quoted Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary who was assassinated in the message was clear. Burkina Faso would no longer be controlled from the outside. Had declared war not with guns but with independence. In April 2025, he launched something unprecedented. The Progressive and Popular Revolution. He nationalized industries, subsidized agriculture, canceled debts. He didn't want foreign food aid. He wanted Burkina Faso to feed itself. He didn't want charity. He wanted dignity. He built local processing plants, bought tractors for farmers, sent thousands of youth to the fields. In a time where presidents traveled the world for deals, stayed home to build factories, he said, "We will not beg for development. We will create it." Some called it inspiring. Others called it madness. France was furious. The West raised eyebrows. Sanctions were discussed, but didn't he flinch? Russia and China saw opportunity. So did many across Africa. He was invited to summits. Praised by youth movements, feared by elite. Propaganda, or not his image, was everywhere. Billboards, murals, songs, AI-generated clips showed him as an African superhero. And slowly, he became more than a president. He became a symbol of resistance, of hope, of a new Africa. But revolution is never clean. In the shadows of speeches and rallies, the war continued. Terrorist attacks worsened. Towns were burned. Soldiers died in ambush. The Monsila attack killed over 100 troops. Human rights groups reported forced conscriptions. Journalists were silenced. Protests banned. The election was postponed to 2029. And people began to ask, was becoming what he once fought? But others responded, you cannot build a new world in peace when the old one is trying to kill you. Ibrahim's story is still being written. Some say he's Africa's future. Others fear he's just another strongman. But no one denies he changed the game. He reminded a continent what power looks like when it wears no tie, speaks no English, and answers to no empire. He stood in the mud with farmers, ate from the same pot, rode in the same trucks. He spoke in symbols, camouflage, soil, and sacrifice. In him, many see Sankara reborn. In him, many see themselves. But only time will tell. We'll build a nation, or a myth. Empires don't fall from speeches. Once said, they fall when their victims stop kneeling. This is not just a story about Burkina Faso. This is the story of courage and consequences, of revolution and responsibility, of a young man who dared to defy the West and gave Africa a new voice. If this story moved you, if you believe leadership can look different, if you want to see more voices the world ignores, subscribe to Bisman Forge, because the next revolution may begin with the truth.